Hello all, welcome to this session. In this session, I'm going to answer one of the Java interview questions. That is, what is final? Let me answer this question with practical demonstration. First of all, final is a non-access modifier in Java. And this non-access modifier can be specified before variables, methods, and classes. So what happens when you specify a particular modifier before variables, methods, and classes? The original behavior of these variables, methods, and classes will get modified. That's why we call them as modifiers. Whereas final is one of the non-access modifiers in Java. There are different modifiers in Java like, public, private, default, protected, static, final, abstract, like the different access modifiers and non-access modifiers are there, whereas final will fall into the non-access modifier category and can be specified before variables, methods, and classes. So what will happen when you specify this final non-access modifier before variables, before methods, and before classes in Java? If you specify the final non-access modifier before variables, okay, the initialized value cannot be updated. Okay. Once you specify final non-access modifier before variables, the initialized value for that particular variable cannot be updated anymore. Okay. Second thing, that is when you specify the final non-access modifier before methods, these methods, these methods cannot be overridden. Okay. These methods cannot be overridden. The child class of the parent class having this final non-access modifier specified method cannot be overridden in the child class. A duplicate copy of the same method in the child class cannot be created. And if you try to create, you will get a compiler error. Similarly, you can also specify final non-access modifier before classes. When you specify the final non-access modifier before the classes, okay, the classes cannot be the parent of any other classes, or this the classes that are specified with the final non-access modifier cannot be inherited by other classes, or any other class cannot become the child class of the final non-access modifier specified class in Java. So these are the things that will happen, guys. Let me practically demonstrate these items for you so that you'll understand what exactly is final in Java. Okay, what is final in Java? The final is a non-access modifier in Java, which can be specified before variables, methods, and classes. When specified before variables, the value of the initialized value of the variables cannot be updated. When specified before the methods, that methods cannot be overridden in the child classes. And when you specify this final non-access modifier before the classes, these classes cannot be inherited or become the child class of any other classes in Java. So let me practically demonstrate this for you. For that, I'll switch to Eclipse IDE, and here I'll expand this project. And here I'll come to this one of the package, that is modifiers package, and I'll create one package here just for separation purpose. I'll just q.p file. Okay, the package has been created. I'll create a class here. I'll just create a class, and in that class, I'll just name this class as class A. And in that class, I'm going to create a variable. Okay, in this particular class, I'm going to create a variable. I'll just name this variable as int A. Okay, int A is a variable. You see, I'm not getting any compiler error when I have created this global variable directly under the class. This particular variable is directly created under the class and outside the methods. So this is a global variable. Okay, but when you specify, before specifying final modifier, non-access modifier before this particular variable, no errors are coming, no compiler errors are coming. The moment I provide final modifier, I'm getting a compiler error here saying that you have to initialize this particular variable in the same line where you have declared it. So let me initialize with some value, let's say 5. Now, the thing here is, once you assign or initialize the initial value to the particular variable, okay, which is specified with final modifier, you cannot update it. How can I prove you that this cannot be updated? I'll create a method here, guys. Public void sample A. Like this one method I'll create. Inside this method, I'll try to change the value of 5 to 10. You see, immediately I'm going to get an error saying that the final field cannot be assigned. You cannot update, guys. You cannot update the value of final variable because the initialized value for this particular variable is the final value. Okay, it cannot be updated. Okay, initially whatever the value updated to this variable, right, that is a final. You cannot update it anymore. Okay, you cannot update it anymore. Okay. Only initialization, no updation. This is a final. It's no more a variable, it's a constant. You can say that this particular thing is a constant once you specify. The variable will get converted to a constant once you specify the final modifier before it. Similarly, if you specify this final modifier before methods, what will happen? Let me tell you. Okay, here, this method is a normal method. I'll write simply write on system.out.println inside sample a parent class. Inside the parent class, this method is there. I'll write like this. Okay. Now I'm going to create another class, guys. I'm going to create another class, and this class I'll make the child class of this class A. I'll just name this as class B extends, class B extends, class A, class B extends class A, and here I'll duplicate this method in the child class here, and here I'll say child class. I'll say child class. Okay, you see there is no issue because this is a normal method. It's not a final modifier specified method, so it can be overridden here. How can I prove you that this particular method is overriding this particular method in the parent class? Class B is a child of the class A. So this particular method in the parent class is overridden by this particular method in the child class. To confirm that, if you write one annotation like override, if you are not getting any errors, means you are good to go. Okay, it's not compulsory, right? To provide rate override, etc. But to prove that this is overriding, we can do that. But this is all until you provide final modifier. The moment you add final modifier here, you are getting an error here saying that cannot override the final method from class A. Okay, this particular method cannot override this particular method in the parent class because this is the method in the parent class is a final modifier specified method which cannot be overridden by its child classes, etc. Okay, then the third thing about this is okay, I'll just put a comment here, okay, just to overcome the error. The third thing about this is, you see already the class A is there. Class A is the parent class of class B. Okay, originally it's very fine and no compiler errors are coming. The moment I specify final modifier here, this class cannot be inherited by any other class. This class cannot become a parent of any other classes. Okay, let me show you. The moment you add final modifier here, you're getting a compiler error saying that the type class B cannot subclass the final class A. Okay, that means the final modifier specified classes cannot be inherited by the child classes. Okay, like this, guys, you have to understand. Like this, you have to understand what is a final modifier. Okay, non-access modifier. Final is a non-access modifier in Java, which can be specified before variables and methods and classes. Variables, once specified with final modifier, cannot be updated. Whose value cannot, the initialized value cannot be updated. Final modifier when specified before methods cannot be overridden by the child class. Final modifier when specified before the classes cannot become the child class of any other class in Java, cannot be inherited by any other classes in Java. So with practical demonstration and theoretical explanation, I've answered this question for you. So that's all for this session. Thank you. Bye-bye.